Welcome and thank you for tuning in to the 412 Double Play Podcast, one of the weirder winter meetings in recent memories this past week, and we will be talking all about it today. I am your host, Michael Castrogano. Back with me this week, my Double Play partner, Ed Wassel, to break this all down. Ed, how about this past week in baseball? Virtually nothing happens at the winter meetings. We'll talk about the stuff that did, but the Juan Soto traded from the Padres to the Yankees, big deal there. And then the week ending with Shohei Ohtani netting the biggest free agent contract in North American sports history. What was your initial reaction to that news?
Wow was my initial reaction. I think everyone knew he was going to get paid. I don't think anybody had it quite that much money. I thought
Well, here's the
I
thing.
thought
They were
like
all saying,
600 was going to be like pushing, especially after coming off the injury. I thought maybe he would even do like a short-term
yeah,
deal,
right.
but yeah, I
They,
did
they,
not
they
see
were saying
700.
500 million with like the if he did a long term thing, or he might try to do an incentive laden shorter term thing, or something with opt outs or something like that. And then the Dodgers go out 10 years, 700 million. The Aaron Judge set the largest free agent contract last year with 9 years, 340, 360, something like that. I think it was 360. And Shohei comes out and just doubles it.
Yeah,
And I think that's, and a lot of the other podcasts and on Twitter or X, however you want to say it, like there's been running jokes about, oh, the Pirates will announce that they're signing Shohei, with the realistic understanding that that's impossible to happen because you've got teams like the Dodgers and the Yankees who can pay for the Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani's, and then there's pretty much everyone else.
I mean Pirates could have done it if they gave him like 60 years of deferred money.
Yeah, they just went all in for these couple years and just I mean there, from what was posted, from what came out about his contract, the majority of the money is deferred. So I don't know how much. So 350 million plus has been deferred to some extent. I was guessing it was something in the nature of the Max Scherzer contract with the Nationals, where he had it like through like 10 or 15 years. That the other half was deferred,
Yeah, and then they
allowing the
negotiate
team to
like
be
what kind
competitive.
of interest they get on that deferred money as well. So it'll be interesting to see what that number
Do
is.
they?
Yeah,
Okay. I didn't know if they got interest on it. I
yeah,
thought it was just
they
so
negotiate
that.
whatever the interest is on it.
Well, for what the Pirates did do this week, pretty much just the one move, I believe, as far as like trades, signings, stuff like that. They acquired Marco Gonzales. So he's a left-handed pitcher, soft tosser, was with the Mariners. Mariners shipped him and Evan White and outfielder Jared Kelenic to the Braves. Braves immediately said, we only wanted Kelenic, so they got some cash in the deal. They added some cash in the deal to send him to Pittsburgh for, it was a player to be named later, or cash. Jason Mackey of the Post Gazette had tweeted that it was like, this was before the Rule 5 draft, was likely going to be a Rule 5 player, as the Pirates had the, I think, 8th pick. But if that was the case, whoever the Braves wanted us to get for them was already selected, so likely will be a fringe prospect or cash going back. But from what has come out about this, and I know it's gotten a little bit mixed because Evan White also got traded, and there's weird things with the rules. But Ethan Houlihan has been posting about the breakdown on how cash is attributed to players who are traded, and then once they're traded again, makes no sense to me. But for people who are able to get into that, who do understand that, and Ethan does a really good job of, like, I mean, we've had him on the show before, and he does a tremendous job of digging into all that stuff. And basically, Gonzalez is going to get paid 12.5 million next year. 4 and change of that is coming from the Mariners. 2.75 is going to come from the Pirates, and the rest is going to be from the Braves.
Yes.
which is our understanding. So Gonzalez had some issues last year, end of the year with a nerve injury, needed surgery, but the timeline on that has him lined up to be ready for spring training. But there's not like a long track record of pitchers who have had that kind of injury coming back and performing. So, given how much we're paying him, which is a meager portion of his overall contract, um, what is the minimum that you think he needs to perform in 2024 to live up to that part of the contract for us?
Jesus, the minimum? He
Yeah.
just has to eat innings to live up to that part of the contract.
Yeah, and you got to hope that he can because you just don't know because we just saw it this past year with oh, what's his face? This year's Lonnie Chisenhall, the pitcher who had injury in spring training and
Garcia?
never pitched. Yeah, Harlan Garcia. If it's another Harlan Garcia situation where he just deals with issues all season, then it's just kind of a sunk cost. But yeah, if he makes a couple starts, if he has even just early on in the season, because in mid-season, hopefully there's going to be reinforcements, and hopefully we're adding more guys to the rotation. We're going to talk about some options who have been rumored in a little bit, but if he makes, I mean, like with that money, if he makes 5 starts, like 5 decent starts, if he gets to like 60 plus innings overall, I think that would be a plus. I just don't know. You just don't know what the injury, and he's a soft tosser, so it's not like his fastball. I think is like 88, 89. We basically got an improved Rich Hill.
Yeah, and
Um,
considering right
but
now, I mean, including him, we have two starters on the roster essentially.
we have 2 starters. I mean, if you're looking at the rotation right now, if you said, okay, based on this roster, you've got Keller, you've got Gonzalez, probably Quinn Priester, Rowanzi Contreras is out of options, so probably him, and then maybe Bailey Falter or Andre Jackson or Luis Ortiz. I mean, it's not what you want. I think
Right.
Quinn Priester could end up being like a fifth guy, and Rowe, they're going to give him every chance, but there's obviously at least one more addition that they need to and will be making. I don't know who it's going to be. Like I said, we'll talk about some options, but where do you like if Gonzalez comes into spring training and he's our clear 5 guy, then that's fine. But like, where do you see him ending up in this rotation?
Until we make some more moves, I don't really know. I mean, right right now he's a two or a
Right
three.
now he's 2. Yeah. I mean, like I said, the hope is that we're going to add more. And we're going to talk about that. We also had the draft lottery. Obviously, we had great news last year when we won it, got the first overall pick. This year, not so lucky. We had the 8th best odds, and we actually dropped a spot. We ended up we're going to be picking 9th in the 2024 MLB draft. The Cleveland Guardians, who were right behind us, they would have been 9th if everything lined up exactly as it was, and they ended up winning it. And unfortunately, the Reds finished second, so we'll get the second pick in the draft next year, however you want to phrase it. So, what kind of impact, like for you personally, was that like um, upsetting, or were you just accepting of it, or were you like happy that we didn't win the lottery again? Like as a fan for you.
Am I just talking about Pittsburgh in general, or what other teams were moved up?
I mean, we're just talking about Pittsburgh in
Okay.
general.
Uh, I mean, unless we somehow won again for the number one overall pick,
Hmm.
if we had moved up again, we would have been ineligible for next year's. So,
Which, I mean, you're hoping that we're not going to be trying to get lottery pick next year.
right. But the way this is shaping out, it's not looking too good early on.
Yeah. That's true.
So
The Oakland A's, soon to be Las Vegas A's, won, air quotes, the lottery. They had the best odds 2 years in a row, or tied for the best odds 2 years in a row. And last year, I think they got fourth or fifth. And then this year, they got six. And that, so they are ineligible next year. So they'll pick no higher than, I think it's 10th. Like the Nationals this year, they couldn't pick higher than 10th. They also couldn't pick lower than 10th. Like they were pretty much locked in at 10.
that's
It
weird.
was like a weird thing with it because they were the only team. So another team, but I'd have to go back and look at the other teams that actually finished in top six. But there's another team who's a payor who will also be eliminated. Someone in the top six, but we didn't make it, so I don't really care that much. Um, so we also had the Rule 5 draft, and that's something that was is pretty much is always a hot topic. And there were a couple of names who have been tossed about as potentially getting picked, or for us to potentially pick in the major league portion. Last year, obviously, we took. I'm just gonna keep blanking on names here. The left-handed pitcher, help me out here.
Hernandez.
Jose Hernandez. Thank you. This is why you're on the show.
This is not why I'm
Jose
on the show. I
Hernandez.
am usually the one that's horrible with names.
We picked Jose Hernandez from the Dodgers. We lost Blake Sable to the Reds. Reds traded him to the Giants. He ended up sticking on the roster all season. So did Hernandez. I mean, overall, I guess kind of a wash, depending on how their careers end up going forward. This year, we didn't lose any players. We didn't pick a player. Like I said, we passed on our Rule 5 draft. But in the minor league portion, we ended up adding 4 players, and we lost a couple as well. So the ads were pitcher Phineas Delbonta Smith from Colorado, reliever, decent, not so, iffy. We also got first baseman Seth Beer from Arizona, who has had major league experience. He famously homered on National Beer
I
Day in
I
Arizona.
remember that.
We all do. We all do. And then some more fringe picks. Third baseman slash shortstop Marcos Cabrera from the New York Yankees, kind of iffy. And center fielder PJ Hilson from San Francisco. He's only made it to, I think, low A, and he's like 23. So, but who we lost, left-handed pitcher Omar Cruz to San Diego. Famously was part of the acquisition in the Joe Musgrove trade. So I think we got him from San Diego previously. And catcher Rafael Escalante, he was pretty low down. I think it was Florida Complex League. But we also lost then 14th ranked prospect Dario Lopez. And we've been big fans of Lopez on this show. And I was even joking with Justin Verno on Twitter because he mentioned that somebody had said that Lopez was going to be the return as the player to be named later for Gonzalez. And I said, "Oh, I'd be so mad if that happened. I'm hoping he just doesn't get picked in Rule 5." And not only was he not protected on the 40 man, he wasn't protected on the minor league portion. So I'm going to give my reaction on that. But like, what were your thoughts when Lopez got picked?
Kind of just shocked. Like you had mentioned, you and I were pretty high on him. Apparently, the organization was not. I don't know if that has
It would seem
something to do with the extent of the injury that occurred this past season. Maybe it's not progressing as well or as fast as they had hoped.
that is what's been reported, that there were some setbacks with the injury.
I mean,
But he's only 21 and was crushing in Greensboro in 2022.
and it doesn't really like hurt to put him on the minor league roster too. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a lot of stuff that I don't understand.
Yeah, so 2022, he had a 286, 329, 476 triple slash, 15 doubles, 19 homers, and 58 RBIs. He dislocated his knee in spring training. So a problem with that, I'm not going to say the problem with that, but a problem with those numbers is that they were highly inflated by the fact that he played half his games in Greensboro, which is a hitter's paradise. But I mean, from what I saw with him, I really liked what I was seeing. I felt like it had the potential to carry over to Altoona. Now we will not know, but wish him the best. And I will have to recalculate my top 30 prospects for this spring and try to figure it out from there. But yeah, hope all the best for him on that. But we didn't lose anybody in the major league portion. Jace Bowen, Malcolm Nunez, Matt Gorski, and all of those guys are still with the organization for anyone who was concerned about
Yeah,
them.
and last year, like our minor league got absolutely gutted in the Rule 5 draft.
Yeah, so we only lost 3 total, whereas last year we lost, I want to say it was double
It
digits.
was a lot.
I mean, we get it was so, and it was so many names that we knew and had heard about, and like some of them were stuff like fringe like pitcher Peter Solomon. I think he was a relief pitcher who we picked up from the Blue Jays midseason last year. He got picked. Um, so there were a couple ones where I was like, that's okay for them to go, but there's some where I was like, oh, that's interesting. They were like fringe top 30 prospects. So um, so that happened. But looking at the other news this past week, Pirates Fest, they dropped the tickets. They gave us some news about that, uh, times, all of that. So we obviously immediately went, got our tickets, got our Airbnb. We're really excited to be there. We'll have. I've talked to some other guys, some of the other podcasters. They're going to be doing recording stuff. We'll probably do recording stuff. We'll just be like those annoying fanboys there, and hopefully get in with like some of the autograph sessions. And but I think the greatest thing is that, well, one, they moved it back to the convention center. It was at PNC Park a couple years ago, the last time they did it, which in January is just crazy. But the fact that it's free, and Travis Williams the other day said that 16,000 tickets sold, air quotes around sold because being free, within the first few days of it. So it's hopefully going to be a packed event. What are you most excited about seeing, doing, asking?
Well, I've never been to one before, so just attending is pretty
We have
exciting.
not.
I mean, just having the opportunity to meet some of the players, see whether they be current or former. I mean, I don't have any questions
Yep,
lined up right now, but just for whatever interaction might occur.
we'll try to get some for that. Yeah, and we'll be wearing our. I'm sure we're going to be talking about it over the next couple weeks, but we'll be wearing our 412 double play shirts. Steve's going to be there too, so it's going to be a lot of fun. Um, so as far as holes still remaining, we talked about how the Pirates do need to address the rotation. The Pirates have been connected, notably to a number of higher profile players for trades, and I don't know if that's just kind of like a PR thing. Dylan Cease of the White Sox, Shane Bieber and Josh Naylor of the Cleveland Guardians, a number of pitchers with the Marlins because the Marlins are stacked with pitching, even with losing Alcantara for the 24 with Tommy John. They're still apparently looking to move some guys. Um, I'm gonna name some guys who they've been tied to as free agents because it's hard to say like what it would take to get somebody like Cease or Bieber, Naylor, someone with the Marlins like Edward Cabrera or um, whoever else they'd be willing to part with there. But as far as free agents, we're just parting with money. So I'm going to give you a name. You tell me your reaction to if the Pirates were to sign him, and then I'm going to give some stats to see if that changes your mind one way or the other. So these are guys who they've also been potentially connected to signing. And a lot of them we've faced in the past to mixed results. First one, obviously, we've talked about him in the past, Jack Flaherty.
I would be okay with signing Jack Flaherty. I know we've discussed that pretty extensively as the offseason started. So
Yes, he's been one who And he was the one this past week where the Pirates said the rumor that came out was that um, if nobody else wants you for a multi-year deal, we want you for a 1-year deal.
Oh, jeez.
Is kind of how it was twisted, and I don't know if that's exactly how it was pitched to Flaherty, but it's kind of how it's like being construed to fans that they approached him and said, "We want you for a 1-year deal, but feel free to test the market for a multi-year deal if you want." So
Why not? Why not
23,
just
he
sign him to
posted a
2
4.
years? Jeez.
I mean, if he wants a bounce back, like kind of pillow contract, maybe 1 year with an option.
Well, yeah, but if we're saying, hey, we want you for one, go see if you can find more. Just give the guy two.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that's, or they're not saying that. I'm saying that's possibly what is happening. I have no idea. My connections are limited, but so 2023, 4.99 ERA and a 4.36 FIP over 144.1 innings. It was weighed down a little bit because he did worse after the trade to the Orioles mid-season. For his career, though, 3.75 ERA, 4.01 FIP, and 667.2 innings pitched. So for the career, you've got him as like a 4-ish ERA guy. And so if they sign him for, I mean, the market value right now, that's probably about 10, 12 million. If you see guys like Lance Lynn getting paid. Um, but then he slots in and he's a top 3 pitcher in your 3-man rotation.
Yes. Yeah, and
So kind of hard to argue with that.
before getting hurt in St. Louis,
So
he was really effective.
yeah, 2019 he had a sub 3 ERA. I think he got Cy Young votes. Um, did he finish top 3? I don't think he was that
I
good,
don't
but
know. Pretty
he
sure
got
he's
he got
all
votes.
star and whatnot.
Yep. Yes, yes, yes. So we also have Seth Lugo, who was with the Padres this past year. Reactions.
I'm working on it. I, I want to say like 3 or 4 years ago, I'd have been much more excited about that.
Well, he's kind of had a mixed career because he's bounced between bullpen and starter. He's with the Mets before this. Padres moved him to full-time starter, and he actually had a really solid season. 3.57 ERA, 3.53 FIP, 146 and a third innings. Career ERA is 350, 368 FIP, over 641 career innings. So as far as like how many innings he can pitch, I mean it's similar to Flaherty. He only went like 140 innings, but the expected innings for a starter isn't really there anymore.
No.
Now none of these guys obviously signed this week. They're all still, open season. Um, but if this is now that Shohei signed, it's possible that some of these lower tier guys do start to come off the board quicker.
Yeah, I think it's going to be like a domino effect now.
Like maybe Blake Snell, maybe Tyler Glass now gets traded, and then you start seeing more of these getting picked off. Next one, this will bring back some bad memories from 2013, but Michael Waka, also of the Padres this past year.
I think I wanted them to try to sign Waka last year. Was he free agent last year or the year prior?
He was a free agent last year. He turned down an option, either 6 or 8 million, something like that, for 2024 from the Padres to test free agency. So he's uh, this past year a 3.22 ERA, 3.89 FIP, 134 and a third innings. His career is around 396 ERA, 405 FIP, but he's got the most innings of these guys, 1,288. He's been in the league for 11 seasons
He's
now.
pitched with better teams as well. Like he's got the
He's
experience.
pitched, yes. So trying to think of where he was before this. Was he in
Boston.
Boston? Yeah. Okay. All right. Last one I've got on this list who we're connected to, and he's been tied to a number of other teams, as have these guys. But Lucas Giolito, he's apparently been tied to the Dodgers, who apparently have like unlimited
limitless amount of
cash.
money. Yeah,
It's, yeah, you don't want to go in a bidding war with them. But Giolito famously with the White Sox previously threw a no hitter against the Pirates back in 2020. If he ends up joining the Pirates, coming off a bad season, but career wise, he's like either one or two, if however you view him versus Keller,
yeah,
easily.
yeah. I like Giolito. I know we discussed him at the trade deadline last year about possibly trying to pick him up.
Just to eat innings, yeah,
Yeah,
because at that point nobody wanted him. Because yeah, 4.88 ERA across the White Sox, Angels, and Guardians this year. 5.27 FIP, 184 and a third innings though. Dude, 8 innings.
dude,
He's got a career 1,013 innings, 4.43 ERA, 4.44 FIP. So he's kind of been around there. But the thing is, he's played his almost entire career with the White Sox, which is not an ideal defense most of the time. Like if you kind of break it down, a lot of those players, Luis Robert, however you say it, I think is good defensively, but around the board, they're not. Like I think Tim Anderson was one of the worst defensive shortstops. So that's I think he could improve going to a team
so
that's
he
a
could
little bit better
fit
defensively.
right in Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Yeah, our defense needs to be better, but it's pushed it's held up a lot by should be platinum glove winner Key Brian Hayes. So of those four, which would you most like the Pirates to sign and which would you least like the Pirates to sign?
Oh God! All right. So we had Giolito, we had Flaherty, Baca, and who was
We
the other
got
one?
Luke and Lugo, Seth
Lugo.
Lugo.
Lugo. Man, I like Giolito's track record. Besides last year, uh,
Yeah, that really weighed down his career numbers.
Flaherty hasn't been the same since the injury, but sometimes it takes a couple seasons to really get back to your form, and he's still pretty
Yeah.
young. I think
Yeah,
Waka's.
I think Waka might be the
I say
oldest
Waka's getting.
at like 32.
Yeah, he's a little up there, which still, I mean, compared to some guys that we've
But
signed in the past, not that old.
yeah, but again, you look at the career numbers for all these guys, and they're all sub 4 ERA or around there, except Gio, which is surprising. But
Yeah, I don't know. That's a tough question because I do like them all, but
I think that's a good list of guys for them to target. I'm also hopeful that they go and trade. Like, if they're able to swing a trade with the Guardians and get Josh Naylor and Shane Bieber, Naylor's got 2 years of arbitration left. Bieber's just got the one. He's a free agent after 2024. But that's two big pieces to answer some big holes in your team's lineup
yeah,
and your roster. Because if we're looking at the roster right now, you've got, like we said, two starting pitchers. You've got a mixed bag at catcher because it could be Endy, could be Henry. You got Jason DeLay, Ali Sanchez recently picked up. They don't know who, like Cherington's said recently, like we don't have a set opening day catcher. Okay,
yeah,
fine.
blows my mind a little bit, but
And then first base, Connor Joe and Jared Triolo. You don't want to roll with that because Triolo got extremely lucky this past season. 440 batting average on balls in play. We've talked about it before. Um, uh, Josh Booth of Bridge of October was on Pirates Fan Forum this past week and was going off about that topic and how Triolo is really kind of destined to regress in 24
yeah, we don't
because
like
of
analytics.
you don't like
Yeah, I
analytics.
hate analytics.
You're the old man, old man who's 2 years younger than me.
Yes.
So, and Connor Joe's fine, but he's not. He's not somebody like Josh Naylor would be so good to have there. Left side of the infield's pretty set. Key Brian Hayes, O'Neal Cruz hopefully comes back from his injuries okay. Um, I believe he's scheduled to start doing winter league play soon. Second base, who knows how that plays out. And then the outfield, again, you got Reynolds, you got Sawinski, you've got who knows what. Maybe Davis, maybe someone else.
Reynolds, Swinsky, and who knows what. Well, apparently they want to add
Yeah.
another outfielder too. So
Yeah, so maybe they go. I've heard they're connected to Michael A. Taylor, would be good. Kevin Kiermaier is someone who's been talked about. Those are both very good defensive outfielders who could potentially go to center, move
Harrison
Swinsky
Bader's
back
still
to
out
right,
there,
where
unless he was signed and I'm not aware of it.
I thought he was signed, but maybe he wasn't. I'll have to look it up. But like, what other needs does the team have at this point?
I mean, you always need pitching depth, and since we don't even have the shallow end of the pool currently,
Yeah.
but we've already discussed that. At first base, probably a couple more bullpen pieces.
Yeah, I mean, the bullpen honestly might be the strength right now, but it doesn't hurt to add to it. There's definitely ways that you can improve. A number of pitchers who are out there who I'd like to see them approach for roles there. Also, what kind of impact the RSN situation has, not just with the Pirates, who obviously are in a limbo trying to figure out if they're going to go to MLB or the Fenway Sports Group agree to some sort of a contract with them, whether it's 1 year or longer term. But it seems like all the other teams, the Bally Sports Group ones or Diamond Sports Group, whatever um, conglomerate, are reducing payroll. Like the Mariners, they were shedding payroll. The Cleveland reportedly is cutting payroll. Tampa is always cutting payroll, but like so many teams
Padres
who
cut
are
a ton of
coming off,
payroll.
like Padres were looking to cut payroll. Yeah, obviously getting rid of Soto is going to help that, but they've been vocal about that. Like a lot of teams that are coming off contending or potentially contending and still having talented teams are trying to find ways to not have that high of payroll before. Like, what impact is this having across the league? Where, as we said at the start of the show, you've got the Dodgers and Yankees and Mets, and I don't know who else is even close to that category because those guys are just going to spend for anybody.
Red Sox,
And then there's
maybe.
everyone else. Maybe even the Red Sox have taken a big step back as far as spending. The Yoshi Yamamoto, the biggest international free agent, Yankees were reported to be meeting with him and working out like a 300 million plus contract uh, proposal. Not saying that's going to be signed. I'm not going to get wrecked saying he's going to Toronto and then he had never left Japan or something.
Simmer down there, Heyman.
But but you see the kind of money that they're able to throw out there, and yeah, they're bigger markets, but at the same time, there's revenue sharing. There's the national TV deals that they get from MLB. Like, why is this discrepancy so big between those couple teams and everyone else?
Well, they literally do just make that much more money than everybody else.
I
It's a
guess so.
brand.
So, do you think that having a salary cap and a salary floor, because you need both to really kind of bring it all? And I pretty much don't follow any other sports, unfortunately, but like NFL, a team can be terrible for a couple years. Like you look back at the Lions. The Lions were really bad for a number of years, had an 0-16
A lot of
season,
years.
but then a lot of years. I mean, they only had a couple good years, but they were able to get guys like Matt Stafford and Calvin Johnson, and then they were able to be competitive for a couple years. but like there's no super team that's just always good in NFL. Even the Patriots are terrible now.
Well, that's because
Like they
they,
had their Belichick and Brady run, and now they're just garbage again.
yeah, I mean, they spent 20 years of being nearly untouchable. So
Yes, I'm glad it's over. Once again, for as little as I follow it, but like that's not. But even with that, if the best player in NFL, like when Brady said, "Okay, I'm leaving the Patriots. I want to go somewhere else," any other team in the NFL could have gotten him. And that's never going to be the case with baseball.
necessarily true though, because there were teams that were too close to the salary cap where they couldn't get them.
But they could potentially make moves and make it work.
Yeah.
Like like theoretically, they could trade off some of their capital and add first round picks or something like that. Because you could trade draft picks in
Yes.
NFL. MLB, you can only trade competitive balance picks for rounds A and B, and that's it. Like we've got a couple years left on the current CBA, and until they hopefully are able to come to some sort of an agreement. But if we have a couple of years where the Dodgers have, and I don't know what their rotation is going to be, and maybe that'll be the deciding factor, but they've got Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, Shohei Ohtani, Will Smith. They've got the payroll to be able to add guys at the deadline. Like, what's to stop them from just dominating for the next couple of years until they get a CBA in place to say, okay, you guys can't, actually spend that much money and other teams need to spend more. Like, is that what it's going to have to take?
I don't know because I don't know if the players union would agree to that. They're they're not going to want to hinder players from getting paid big money. Right?
Yeah, it seems like that's really unfortunate because you would think some players would say, okay, if I'm really good, but I'm not like that level of good, I'm stuck with going and playing for a team that's never going to win. Like, as much as Kutch loves Pittsburgh, and if he comes back in 2024, and that's not a guarantee, but if he comes back in 2024, he's not coming back to a team that's going to be like in the discussion for a World Series. Like, there's not, unless we make a crazy amount of moves between now and mid February. That's just not gonna happen, and that would be crazy if it happened. But like, there's just so few teams that go, and some teams will come out like the Cincinnati Reds. They've gone out and they've been spending. Cardinals have spent. I don't know. I've been kind of mixed on how I think that's going to work out with the ads that they've made. But the Brewers. I mean, they're probably going to sell, but that's not a good example. But like, it's been a mixed bag of as far as what teams are doing
Yeah, Philly's went out and spent a lot of
because
money.
yeah, I don't know what kind of deal they have with Comcast, but it's just frustrating. It's just you see a team give out the biggest contract, like the biggest free agent contract we had was for Francisco Liriano 10 years ago, and it was a 3 year, 30 some million, 36 or 39. Like, could you imagine Bob Nutting being like, "Yeah, we'll do a 10 year, $300 million contract for let's say Bellinger or Snell or something like that." Be ridiculous. Pittsburgh would lose its mind because of how insane that suggestion would be. But if the Dodgers are doing 700, shouldn't like we be able to do even 100 million as a free agent?
Yeah,
Like, it's just
there's
we're so
there's
far
there's no
from
reason Pittsburgh
the other
can't do
ones.
100.
I mean, we're finally getting extension contracts in that realm,
I
so
think
maybe it's around the corner.
I think Pittsburgh makes close to like $90 million a year just in revenue sharing money. There's no reason they shouldn't have to spend every penny of that. I think that's something that needs to be brought
I
up.
mean, yeah,
I know
the revenue sharing and go ahead.
in I believe it's in the NBA. They have revenue sharing as well. Whatever the team doesn't spend on, whether it be free agents or contracts or whatever, say they had
Mhm.
$7 million left at the end of the year, it's split up evenly to every player that's on the roster. It has to be. It has
Oh,
to be given to the players.
well, that's interesting. Yeah, the next collective bargaining agreement, they just need to figure something else out because this is just not working. And I understand the whole argument, like, well, it's not the same team winning the World Series every year, but a lot of the same teams are at least, in the ballroom for it. The Astros made what, 7 consecutive ALCS? That's stupid.
It is, but
And I know they're in one of the,
they weren't
they're like the
necessarily.
third or fourth biggest market.
They weren't spending like stupid money compared to some other teams, were they?
Mm,
I thought a
no,
lot of their guys
I
were
mean
homegrown and just.
they did have a lot of homegrown. Yeah, but what's the thing? They tanked for a long time, and then they got these homegrown players. But because they're a big market, they were able to go and well, I guess they got Verlander in a trade. They got Cole in a trade. They had Greinke, who I think that may have been a free agent.
But they
I don't
could
know.
sign
I'm
that
just getting a little
a semi big ticket item to fill that one last need that they have.
yeah. So I'm just getting like a little ranty on it because I don't know what the solve is unless they get a salary floor and a salary cap, and hopefully they get something or some semblance of something soon.
Or at least
But
make it that if you're
I don't,
spending ridiculous amounts of money that you lose your first round pick, like immediately.
that'd be something.
Not like I believe right now it's like, is it your third year over the luxury tax threshold you lose a first round pick? Something like that.
You have to be like a certain percentage over it.
Yeah.
The
But
the different like yeah, you start losing draft picks. I think.
well, they should just do that like immediately.
Yeah. All right. Was there anything else that happened this past week that I missed? Like I said, it was a slow winter meetings. It was a lot of
It was pretty
like
slow.
the guys at the North Shore Nine were posting videos from there, and they got some really cool interviews. Would love to go do that sometime, but it's unfortunate for them because there was just nothing going on for them to really talk about until the Gonzalez trade, and that was really it for the Pirates, and there wasn't much going on for other teams either.
Yeah, kind of reminded me of the year when Harper and Machado were free agents and they waited till like February to sign.
Yeah. All right. Well, that wraps it up for all of us here at the 412 Double Play Podcast. Thank you for joining us. You can follow me on Twitter, X, social media at 412 Double Play, Ed at Ed_Wassel. Continue listening to us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever else podcasts are found. Make sure you subscribe so you get notified when we drop our new episodes. We're going to be looking to have a couple more guests to end this year. And then for the new year, I'm hoping to get a top 30 prospect list. It may be just like me talking with different guests so they can critique my picks on that. And we'll see where it goes from there. But from all of us here at the 412 Double Play Podcast, thank you for joining us, and let's go,
Let's
Bucks.
go Bucks.